If you wanna stay with me, if you wanna try, maybe you could be with me, but only for the night.
Hi there, welcome back to the Board Game Specialists. I'm Carla.
And I'm Melanie.
And today we are talking about our top 9 micro games.
Yes.
Now, we kind of had, like what's our definition on that? We kind of figured they're smaller games with fewer than 30 cards, I think, and having a few bits possibly in them, but really small that you could kind of put it in like a shirt pocket almost. Or like a back pocket, but something that's really
kind of
small,
like the size of a pack of cards or smaller, basically, is what
cards
I've included.
Or a small tin or something like that.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So I've played a lot of those games because a lot of them are actually solo or can be played solo. So I will play those quite often, pull out, because they are very quick games typically, but some of them are quite neat. And so it'll be interesting if we have any crossovers, because we have played a few of the same. We've kind of lent each other some of ours to each other, and to see, we'll see if any of each other's is on the list or.
Yes.
Or what.
There's a few games I had that would consider micro game, because I made it like, okay, let's play some of these. And then I sat down with Lee and Patrick one day, we played a bunch, but I still have a lot of micro games I didn't play.
Yeah.
Now, big benefit of micro game is not that it takes a small table. Some of them spread out quite a bit.
Some of them do.
But
yeah.
You could easily, in a purse, and I have a fairly small purse, but I could easily bring 20 games anywhere with me when they're that small. So great
and
for traveling.
People like us that love variety. That's one thing we both do. We love our variety of games. That's perfect for us. If we were to go on a month holiday, we could chuck a bunch of those in there and then still have that huge variety to go.
Exactly. Yeah, because out of all the micro games, they have very different feel.
Yeah.
So that was really cool.
Yeah.
Really cool. Yes. All right, so let's bring up our presentation.
Okay.
And as usual, before we start with our list, we're going to talk about what we've played lately. And we're going to start with you, Carla.
Yeah, so I had purchased the second version of Awkward Guess. It's just called Awkward Guess 2. I think it's the Berwick cases or something like that. But it's a 2-player only game. And it's really unique because I have, you each are designing a crime for the other person. So, and you go through these steps, so you all have like actual equal information for the other person, and equal, stats, how everything went down. And then you each have your own deck of cards. And once you've created your crime, you're going to pull out some of those cards that were part of the crime. And then you give that deck to the other person. And then you have these 3 dice. And so on your turn, you're going to roll these 3 dice, and those will be the actions you're allowed to take. You can re-roll once, any or all of the dice. And if you still didn't like what you had, you can burn one of the dice to turn another one to the action you wanted to use.
Okay.
So there's all different actions that you can do in there. But what's neat is you're going to try to figure out who did it, what their motive was, and the weapon. And how you do that is with a series of questions, meaning the dice actions. You may, there's on your player sheet, you're going to have this map of the house it was in, and they were actually both killed. There's sisters that were killed. So one sister was killed in the bedroom, and a week later, her sister was killed in that same bedroom. So it's neat because my sheet will have the map, and then your sheet will have it flipped, kind of like a reverse.
Oh, like the mirror image.
Yeah, mirrored image of that map.
Okay.
So you're kind of flipping your maps back and forth, because on one side I've created the crime, on the other side I'm trying to figure it out. So when it's your turn, I'll turn over my sheet to where I've created it, and you're going to place your dice and ask some questions, and then I will either have to give you, or you will either, depending what you choose, you might get to look at some cards from the deck that I handed you, or I will have to give you some information. You might ask, like, have these two people talked about each other? Because it's part of figuring out the motive. And so then you would check under each of them. Oh, yes, they did, or no, they didn't. And I have to tell you which one talked about each other and in which kind of column. So it's pretty specific, that information. You might just place a dice on a slot where you get to look at part of the path of the crime. And the path is important because there's always going to be 4 rooms until the bedroom. And on the bottom, there's 4 alibi rooms. And everybody always starts in that room. So the murder included. So if they start in one room, if you can figure out where their actual alibi room is, then you can start to figure out their path. And the path is important because they had to have picked up the murder weapon along the way. And there's only a few weapons in each of the rooms. So once you've kind of deduced some of those, maybe weapons are not involved, because there's a way to, some of the cards that you choose will say, like, these weapons were not part of it. There's some silly weapons in here. There's a plunger. There's a lollipop. So when me and Cherry played it, and I had designed it with the lollipop was the killer, and I forget what the motive was, but it was funny because halfway through the game she goes, "Is that a lollipop on there?" And I pretended I didn't see it before, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that is." That was silly. But it was
funny.
It was all along. It was my weapon. But there's some silly things in there, but it's quite neat too, because you after you've done your dice actions, then you'll flip the main board over, like the map, and your sheets over, and then I will start to ask questions with the dice. And then at the end of the round, just like an awkward guess, you're going to flip up a card that says, I'm ready to solve it, or I'm not ready. And if you're not ready, then you continue on. Okay. And then this one as well, if I am not right, then I'm not out of the game, but then my partner will get to have a free dice action before the next round starts. So it's kind of neat that way, that you don't, in some deduction games, if you guess and you're wrong, you're done. Unless there's an app or something like that. But this one has no app. It's just, you don't need any kind of device or anything, but we really enjoyed it, and I know you would enjoy it too, Mel.
I am so upset that I didn't get this, because when it was on Kickstarter, I was like, I'm still content with Awkward Guess, the first one, so I don't know if I need more, access to more scenarios, because there's so many, unlimited possibilities of scenarios you can play. Right. So I was like, I don't think I didn't realize it played so differently.
Yeah. Yeah, it's quite different.
Yeah. Mind you, this is a type of game that Lee's not big into. Right. So 2 players, if I was playing with Lee, probably be like, eh. Oh. But my sister is like, I'm going to need to get this now. Yeah. Yeah. No, that sounds great. That sounds great. So that was Awkward Guest 2. And I could have owned it too.
You can still one day.
Yes.
You can board mine too.
There you go. What I'll talk about is yesterday we had a game gathering. It was our friend Cherry's birthday. And actually, it was on her birthday as well. Yeah. And we got together and played a couple of games. And the first one that was set up was Mombasa. And this was, it was neat because I got there and it was all set up. It was the last one to arrive. And it was just kind of ready to play. And then this was an interesting game. Because you have your deck of cards and you're going to take with your cards either the resources, and there was cotton and it was coffee beans, but we kept calling it chocolate beans, and there was bananas. But then there's also a couple exploration hats that was for us to explore or spread out or whatever. And then there was there's 2 guys, right? 2 merchant, and one that was to move on the book track and one that was to move on the diamond track. Now, I pretty much did not move on the diamond track at all. But what's kind of interesting, because you would put the cards down, you only get to pick 3, and you'll put down, and let's say I put bananas and the cotton, and then the exploration or the guy for the book or whatever, because you can accumulate books that'll have different resources, and you move your inkwell along that book path. Now, first of all, components were so cool. I really enjoyed the little inkwell and then the look of the game as well. And when you move along the books, to be like, okay, well, I need to have 2 bananas and a cotton. It's like, well, I actually have that in my cards. Now, you don't spend those cards at that point. It's just to show that they're there. And then you can move along the book path. Then we would flip the card over to show, okay, well, I've activated this card. Well, then I can activate the banana card to either acquire new cards, depending on how much of one type of good that I had, because each cards had different costs. Or to, if I had more bananas than anybody else, then I could kind of take a token to put them on. I have the max bananas, and that would give me the ability to move on the city tracks. And each side of the board has a different city track, which will give you kind of shares in the city. But then each of those tracks are kind of attached to a bunch of houses that matches that city color that you'll be moving out into the land. Now, we got into a big fight over white and orange, and they kept bumping each other out, and it sends the other house back. And then at the end of the game, you'll multiply however many houses is on the map that got placed by the number of coins. So the number of coins that is showing. Revealed, right? Yeah. But you reveal them by moving your houses out. So the number of coins revealed multiplied by the number of shares that you had for that city. And depending on how far you've moved on the board, but then also some cards had city shares as well, then that would give you shares towards that as well. Now, it's kind of the first time playing, I was just kind of like, ooh, doing my thing. And I was like, not really paying close attention to what provided the best score. So there was 2 tight games in this game. Me and Kayla were really tight. We're like a couple points away. And then you and Cherry were pretty close to each other as well, but like 40 points apart from where me and Kayla were.
But we had played it a couple times before as well.
Yeah, and it was a learning game. So definitely, I think second time, like, because I completely ignored the diamond track, and I was just not moving up on that. And I was just like, collecting books, doing my things. And then but even though, I mean, I was in last place by quite a bit, but even though of that, I quite enjoyed the gameplay. This was a really interesting game. Yeah.
And the card play is so different as well. It's kind of, it's different from most games, but it has a similarity to his Blackout Hong Kong game where you play those cards down.
Yeah, because you acquire cards and they'll go in your hand. But as you spend the cards, those gets discarded and they get moved up. But then you do get to bring one pile that's back before you move them up. So it takes a while to recycle your deck depending on where you've placed them. So that's something interesting to kind of keep. So it's like a deck building, but the deck building aspect or mechanism is very different. But yeah, very, very neat game. I quite enjoyed that one.
Yeah, that was cool.
So that was Mombasa. Perfect. So now we're going to get into our top 9 microgames.
So I had an easier time on the lower part of my list, but the upper part of my list could have been like, there's a few I was like, oh, I can't believe they didn't make my list, but so be it. So my number 9 ended up being Bog. Now, Bog is one of those Paco games, which is literally like a stick or a pack of gum, but not like the pack of gum that we see now. Kind of back in our 80s era where you would have, what was it, Juicy Fruit? Was in this little rectangle
They're very small.
Gum when you would pull out sticks of gum, not like the pieces of gum now. That's like literally what the size of this is. So when Mel was saying I could throw 20 games in like my purse easily or something, these are the ones that literally you could get tons of them in there. And some of them just throw like a whole big game in there. Now this one it has a little frog on the front, but it's an abstract strategy game. And so what it is you have these little paths kind of, or you have these lily pads that you'll lay out, and there's 9 of them. It's a 3x3 grid. And then you play these cards. And so you might be playing a frog onto one of the lily pads, and it has kind of a path on it. So it'll show like where it needs to go next in the grid. And now if, and then you would go and do the same. And so say I moved to the next path in the grid, I could just put another card out, but you kind of have to decide what you're going to do. And then, so say the next path in the grid was the very middle card. So I'd stay there. But if you'd happen to have something that was already out, that their next path was the middle, you would actually take my frog, and you would turn it over, and it would be points for you. And depending, some of them are like 1 or 2 or 3 points, I believe. But then there's also there's flies out there, and those are how you're going to get more cards, because you're going to run out of cards eventually. So if you don't get to the flies, which is, I mean, you need nourishment, then you won't get more cards, and then you're kind of out of luck because you won't be able to play. But it's really neat how the strategy in it, because you can see the person's path when they play their frog. So you can know, like, I don't want to go there because they're going to get me there. Maybe I'll go like over here. They're not going to get me, but their next move could. Like if 2 moves from now, they could. So I'm going to need to move that one before I get to them. And another thing is, if you can ever get to the other end, which is literally just, 2 rows over, but it sounds easier than it is because your path doesn't just go straight. Then you also get to flip that one over, and it becomes points. So you're just trying to figure out your strategy of trying to either catch their frogs or just get to the other end and get a bunch of points before all the cards are out. And it might sound like not much, but it is quite like a little chess match, because you're both trying to do the same thing, but also trying to catch each other, but also trying to nourish yourself to get more cards, to have more options for things. Because sometimes your options of paths are only in their path. And if I'm the first one to play it, you're going to get me. So it's quite an interesting little game, but it's this one doesn't take up a lot of space, because that 3x3 grid is really as big as it gets. And then just your score pile basically is all that it is. And it's neat how they've managed to use the cards, they're multi-use, because then on one side will either be like the fly, the frog, and the path, and then the other side is the score for it. And then how you score it is you have these little cards, like it'll have numbers on the back, and depending what the score is, you're going to tilt it that way. So then you're just going to add, so like straight up would be, it looks like a 1, and then tilted is a 2, and then if you need a 3, you would flip that over. So they really were clever in how they could score without having a score pad or something like that. But it's really cool. And you didn't get to play this one?
No, well, I don't own this one.
Oh, maybe I didn't bring that one for you.
No, I don't own this one, and it is adorable looking.
Yeah.
So I think, like, because with the Paco game, they've released a couple of batches at the time.
Sets.
Yeah, and I've got set, I believe, 1 and 2. I think this must be set 3.
I only bought a few singles, so I don't have any sets.
Right. Oh, I see. Okay.
I think this is oh no, there's one more in my list here. There was one that was on, hovering around the top, and that one was called Win, and it's just basically a version of, what's that game called? The horse race game. That roll and write. Long shot, the dice game.
Oh,
so it's a mini version of that, and it's called Win, and it works fabulous as well. But
nice.
It didn't make my top part, but it was very close. But that one's really cool too.
Yeah, very cool.
What about you,
Bob? All right, 9? My number 9 is another Paco game, but it plays very different. And this one I would say was more like almost a dexterity game, and this is Fly.
Oh yeah.
So this one, I find it so comical. So every time we play with the kids, we kind of have a blast with it. And each tile is a piece of your picnic blanket. And you're going to put them all out, and you're going to create like your whole picnic blanket, but there's different flies on it. And each fly has a different symbol on their back, color, and shape. And you're going to put the game box, and it means tiny little game box, on the side standing up, and you're going to put a sky card kind of just slightly tucked in there. And what you're going to do is you're going to go from the top of what that is So that's how high you need to be. And you have this little card that's a fly swatter. And you're going to hold that above the blanket and you're going to drop it. And the goal is to cover flies. So if you cover the flies with that card, you've swat that fly and you get to collect that fly. So you're going to take it and you keep playing until all the cards are. Now you could drop it and cover absolutely nothing and you don't actually get to collect any cards that round. But you'll collect all these cards and you're going to create sets, like either sets of like all the same shape or all the same color or different things like that. And then depending on how many sets you've created, how many points you've scored. But this is one that we've played a few times and it's just such a funny, silly game of swatting flies on your picnic that we quite enjoy playing it for theme alone. But it's interesting. It's kind of like, okay, I'm going to drop it right here. And it kind of tilts and catch, I don't know, and then kind of goes off to the side. It's like, that one's okay, actually. So, very little control. It's complete luck driven, but we like it. And that's my number 9, Fly.
Awesome. Yeah, I did try this one out, but when I tried it out, it was solo, so I didn't get the feel of the back and forth. But yeah, it's clever how they made it. All right, my number 8 is a little button shy game. So button shy games are little wallet games, they call them. They come in like a plastic wallet that you used to get, I'm going to say like you would get a bus pass in back in the day. I don't know if that's a thing now, but...
Or like your car registries or...
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Things like that. So, and it usually only has 18 cards, I believe. I think that's their like, max, but I could be wrong. And then they do typically will have expansions. This one does not. But this one is called Kintsugi. And what that is the art of fixing broken dishes, basically. And so what they used to do if someone broke a vase, they would literally fix it with gold. They'd mend it together with gold, and then it would be more valuable, obviously, because there's gold in there. But it actually, they turn out beautiful when you see them, because it's all different like lines along a pot or like a vase or something, and they're all different because nothing would break exactly the same, right?
Yeah.
But how you play this game is you are just trying to, it's a little area control game. And I believe it's a 2-player only game, but I'm not 100% sure.
No, it plays more because we played it 3. I think you can play up to 4.
Probably because there's 4 colors. So you could each have a color. So all you're doing is you are going to play a card and you're trying, and then someone else will play a card and you just go around the table and play. And at the end, you just want your color, and no one knows your color. They kind of will figure it out through the game because you're obviously trying to get that to be the most showing and connected. So if I was yellow, I would maybe place, I'm going to try and cover up someone's to connect my yellow to 2 other yellows. And you always have to cover up something. And it's not like a square, like you cover up a square. They're all different shapes, so the game can be totally wild. Because if you were watching this on YouTube, you can kind of see how the cards are just all splayed out on top of each other, kind of random they look. But they do have like a border around the shapes, and those need to border other shapes. So it's quite interesting because as you're playing, you think you have this huge space and all of a sudden someone goes right in the middle of it and you've split up your whole area. And now you got to figure out, can I connect those again, or should I just work over here? But I don't want them to know what I am, so maybe I'll play a different color just to like throw them off a bit. But I've only played this at a 2-player, so it gets pretty obvious, towards the middle of the game which color we are. But it's quite neat how you can overlap these cards and change up the whole play area. I really enjoyed it. It's super fast. I think you can literally play this in 5 minutes, unless you have some people really thinking about what they're doing. But it's really cute, and the colors are quite vibrant. So there's like a yellow, a blue, kind of like a burgundy, and then a white. And it's just a really neat back and forth game. But yeah, that's my number 8, Kintsugi.
Yeah, that one made it a little bit lower on my list, so it didn't make the top 9. but it was interesting. I ended up with like my colors spread out all over the place, so it was really hard to tell because you could try to guess. It's like, okay, well, I think you have this color. It's like,
Yeah.
no, I had this color. I was like, really? Because they're not connected at all.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I was trying. And it's a little weird, yeah, because the shapes are so odd. So when you add the cards and you got to cover all of one section of a previous card, like it just creates this mayhem looking
chaos.
a little bit. So, but yeah, no, interesting game for sure.
Mhm.
So my number 8 is one of those games. So the same like wallet type game that you ended up lending me. And this is Skulls of Sedlec. So this one was really interesting because you're creating, well, first of all, the artwork is really kind of neat. Like I really like the look of it, but you're creating this pyramid with these cards, and depending on the number of players, because this is another one that we played at 3, how many, like the size of your pyramid that you're creating. But you can create like 2 on the bottom, add 1 on the second level, but you need to create like the base before you can stack on top of it, right? And this is one of those where it's like a positioning game. So depending on what you're adding, the type of skull that is on there, if it's a peasant, if it's a royalty, if it's like a clergy, or an outlaw, I think it was, or you could have like the lovers or whatever. So, and they'll all score differently depending on the position of other stuff. So the clergy would score if you had outlaws on the same line because you're protecting their souls or something. No, sorry, that's how the outlaws score.
Yeah, they want to be next to priests, so they're forgiven.
So yeah, exactly. Priests, you score them for each row that they're on.
Yeah.
The royal will score for however many royals and peasant is below their level. The lovers score if they are touching another lover, so they're a couple. But it was kind of interesting because you can draw cards, but you can't have more than, I think it's 3 cards in your hand. So if you have 3 cards, then you have to place it. It's like, oh man, I was really hoping to get that one. So you're going to place it. And so the way that you're kind of adding it all and then scoring at the end was really interesting. So another one that was pretty quick. Quick game, but it was kind of so neat creating your thing. Is like, oh, that card's up there, I'm gonna go pick that up. It's like, oh, why did you take that? I needed that other lover. It's like, and each card has 2 skulls on them, so it was really neat. I quite enjoyed this one, and that is my number. Where are we? Number 8.
Yeah,
Skulls of Sedlec.
Yeah, that actually is my number 7. I really enjoy this one too. I've only played this one solo, so I don't know what it's like as a multiplayer game, but it's an awesome solo game. In the solo game, you are building your pyramid plus this other shape, and I think you have to balance them, or you need to have certain points in each one. So it's still quite thinky, but I love the fact that each of them have 2 different skulls. Sometimes they'll have the same skull on the card because they're just top bottom. And trying to figure out how to place those strategically for each of them to touch the proper ones that you want to touch. Can never have everything work perfect, but that's what games are typically. But it's a really good one. I like that one. So that's also my number 7.
Very nice. All right, my number 7 is another one that you lent to me, and it's another wallet game, and that is Circle of Wagons. I thought this one was so cool. So with this one, you're going to be having these cards. Each cards have 4 different segments on it. And then the background will have a different terrain. And I think you can have like mountains or plains or forest or snow, or there's another one, water. And I don't know what all the different terrain.
Yeah.
Well, green would be the forest, right? So
you said forest.
Yeah. So I think so. There's 5 different terrain that you can have. There's the brown or the orange one. I'm not sure what that one would be. The desert maybe. But then also you have an icon on top of it, and it could be like a pickaxe or a pistol or a building or a cow. Is it a cow or a bull?
Yeah.
Wagon, bottle, like there's different things.
Cattle.
But what's really interesting is at the beginning of the game, you're going to shuffle the scoring tiles, and you're going to flip those up. And those are the 3 things you're all scoring for. So you're trying to arrange your thing to kind of get the most of those points. And I think we had like where we wanted to have as least snow as possible, or you wanted to have like with the bottles, like if you had more than this bottles, then you scored however many bottles they had. So,
nice.
and something like that. So it's kind of different things like that. But on your turn, you can either add the card along the side of one of the previously played card, or you can overlap the card a little bit. Now, you can't just straight up put a card on top of another card, but you can cover a corner or a side or different things like that. And you're adding cards trying to create this like this arrangement that would give you the most points ideally, and things, it's like, oh man, why do I have all this snow? Okay, well, I'm gonna try to cover it. Oh, but then I'm covering up the cow, and I am trying to have cows. Well, I could, but if I move the card over here now, I'm covering up some snow, but I'm also covering up this over here. It's like, so it's a kind of really interesting decision, because you're really kind of building this puzzle and it depends on the cards you get as well, right? So, because you're going around, the cards are set up in a circle. So I guess that's where the circle of wagons come from. And you kind of take the cards. Now, it's one of those things like you can go as far forward as you want, but then like what you skip goes to the other player. So it was interesting. I did really much enjoy this one. That was a fun little puzzly one. And that was my number 7, Circle the Wagons.
Yeah, I really like this one too. It didn't make my top 9, but I played this one solo as well quite a bit. There's like a solo variant, but it's nice how the back of the card is scoring, and then the other side is the map portion of the game where you're designing your
because the gameplay will change so much depending on the scorecards that comes up.
Yes, exactly. Just kind of like Sprawlopolis is another one of those wallet games where the back is the scoring, and then the front of it is the map that you're trying to create. So you just never know what the scoring is going to be in the game, because it'll be 2 or 3 different cards that you'll try to work towards. So it'll always be different. So I love that, because that just adds playability to it so much. All right. Well, my number 6 is Aqua. Now this is a little deck of cards, and I would say it's like a normal deck of cards, maybe a little bit smaller or like thinner, but it has like a cover of like a kind of an abstract cover on it, which is quite pretty, just in like aqua colors. And so what it is it's a 2-player game only, and the one player is going to play the columns, basically score the columns, and the other player is going to score the rows. So in order to score, you can only have a certain amount of points in each of them. So I think it's like something like 12 to 20. I don't know. But if you have in that column or row that points within that range, then you will score it. And so it starts with one card in the middle. Might even be 2, one face down, one face up. And then we just go back and forth and play cards. So I can play them like anywhere, even if they're in your column, because they would literally start another row for me. But if you play a card next to a face down one, then you have to have it face up, and if you play it next to a face up one, and then it has to be face down kind of thing. But then once it's surrounded, it will be flipped over. Now there's different things on these cards. You might have turtles, and those kind of just have their own scoring. Each of the cards might have a icon on it, and you want to kind of set collect those. There's also like lily pads that want to be next to, is there frogs in there? There's something that they want to be next to. And then you have these boats. And when you flip a boat, or you have a boat face up, you get to grab 2 cubes, and each of you get to place it on a card, and that will add another point to it if it scores. So you're playing these cards, but you can see if you have one whole column or row flipped, you can see what the points are. So I know, you're already at 18. I'm going to play this card that puts it at 21. You're not scoring that. But I also want to help myself too. So if I put it down and it screws me, I'm not going to do that. So you kind of have to, there's defense and offense in this one. So you really have to like strategize what's better. Do I want to take those points away from you, or do I want to add this row right here? And this is going to like give me tons of points in this column, as long as you don't screw it up. So it's quite it's quite interesting, and it's a super fast game. We played this during one of our marathon days, and we were
Yes.
both like, "Wow, that's actually pretty cool." But it's quite a unique game because it just feels like, again, like a little chess match where you're like, "Oh, okay, I don't want to make this row too much yet," because you could throw down something like that will give me a score of added 6, and then I'm screwed there. So I'm gonna just kind of try to keep them all a little bit low, hovering under the score level, and then I can play them after.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was quite interesting. But that's my number 6, Aqua. Now there are
Yes.
different games called Aqua, so
Yes.
if you look this up, it's sometimes hard to find on Board Game Geek, but it's just it's not the tile laying game. This is just a simple card game.
Yeah.
Aqua.
Yeah, this one didn't make my list just because I forgot to put it on the list altogether. So it was like I was preparing the present. I said, "Oh yeah, that one was good." So it's like, now it's slightly bigger than the other games we've talked about, not by much.
Yeah, just a little bit
But
bigger.
so it would totally fit as a micro game. I just didn't associate it that way. But great pick. All right, my number 6 is another from the Paco Games series, and this one is called Boo. And I thought this one was so interesting. So it's a 2-player game, and you're going to start adding tiles to you start with the gate, and then there's a couple cards above it, and then you start adding cards to it. Now, you'll have one person playing the white ghost and the other person is playing the black ghost. And if I put ghost, and you can see each ghost have like eyeballs and they're looking in a certain direction. And if I'm able to do ghosts that are along the path of where they're looking, they look and they make eye contact with another ghost, then it flips them. Like they're, I don't know, I guess they're shy, and then it causes them to flip. But does it cause to flip everything in between?
I don't know, because I was trying this out solo, so it didn't work out well. It would have been it would be very much a better multiplayer game.
Yeah, because you're trying to get your ghost to do connect and kind of make eye contact, because then it flips all the ghosts in between, and you flip the card over, and the other side of the card is the opposite of what you just played. So if it was like a white ghost and a black ghost and a black ghost, then you're going to flip it. It's going to become a black ghost, a white ghost, and a white ghost. But then it could create other line of sight, I guess, basically. So it gets really puzzly. It's a little bit plays like Othello or like Go, right? Like, because you're trying to create.
I don't think I got the rules right, so I would definitely have to try this with you one day. It looks really neat all out like that.
It was so neat, like, because I could add, hold on. If I add this here, that also creates this here, then these are going to flip, and I want to keep those ones, so maybe I don't put it, like, so it gets really puzzly, and when you're trying to decide where you're going to put your things. And of course, it starts fairly small, and it grows, and it grows, and it grows, and you're just trying to kind of flip to your color, because at the end of the game, once the last card is played, is whoever has the most ghosts showing wins the game, like of your color, right? So I thought this one was so cool. Now it's great for Halloween. Like it has a neat, cutesy, spooky theme. But it's great for any other time as well. So we really enjoyed this one. And this is my number, what are we on, number 6? And that is Boo.
So I have a question. So when you flip a card, you know it's the opposite color on the other end. Do you know which way they're facing?
I think it faces the opposite as well.
And so you said when you flip it, now those could all trigger other flips?
I do believe so. Like I have played this. It was a long time ago. But so it's kind of because you're trying to create for them to look at each other. So it was neat. Yeah.
Oh, and then the goal of the game is to have the most of your color showing or connected?
That's right. No, just showing, because you'll count all the black ghosts versus all the white ghosts, and then whoever has the most wins.
Yeah, no, I need to try this again, because I just tried it out solo, like two-handed, and I was like, I didn't get it. So definitely have to try that one again.
Yeah, because it said just like, I don't know if I like that one. I was like, okay, you must have played it wrong, because it's so good.
You would like that game.
Yeah.
All right. So that was your number 6, Boo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, have to pick that up for Halloween for sure. All right. My number 5 is a little micro game that I feel like they tried to get it in the Button Shy line, but it didn't work out because it's an 18 card game. But there's dice in there, and that's probably why, because Button Shy usually has no components, just cards.
Right.
So this one comes with a bunch of dice, and this one is called Forage. Now, this is kind of a trilogy because first there was Orchard, and then the second one, I'm trying to think of what the second one was called. I have all 3 of them, but this is the third one. This one's called Forage, and they all play similar. They all have 18 cards and then dice, and then maybe a few different other bits. But what this one does is you literally only use 9 of the cards, and without using, like, because you can play it kind of like an easy way, and then you can play an advanced way. And the easy way is you just take the 9 cards, you flip one face up, and then you have 2 in your hand. And what you're trying to do is get similar colors on top of similar colors. And each card will have like 6 different squares in them. Some of the squares can be divided and have 2 different terrains on them. So you're going to have, there's 3 different terrains, but they will have either like a mushroom, a nut, or fruit on them. And so the green ones always have fruit, which it looks like grapes. I can't remember if that's what they are, berries. And then the brown ones have mushrooms, and the orangey ones kind of have nuts on them. And so when you cover up one with the same color and it has like a nut or mushroom or whatever, then you will put a dice on it, and you'll start it at 1. And then when you would cover it up again, if you could figure out how to cover up that same one again, you would flip that dice to a 3, and then next time it would go to a 6, and then it would go to a 10, and then after that you would get to put a basket on, which would be worth 15 points. So all these cards are different, but you're trying to, like, you would cover up as many as you want. You could literally even cover up a whole card, but typically one card is not the same as the other unless you've put 2 together that made it work. And so then you have the different colored dice, so 1 for each terrain as well. Now, if you ever cover up one that isn't the same color, then you have to put this little, I think it's a rat on there or something, or mouse. And so that's kind of a negative point. And you can never cover that one up again. So you have to be careful. And you only have a couple of those to use in the game. And then you have like a giant mouse that if you end up covering, I can't remember what that one's used for now, but it's like a real high negative point. You don't want to do that. I think maybe it's the last one. If you use, then that one will come out. But it's really thinky and puzzly because the first time you do it, you're like, I barely got any points. I don't get this. And you do it again and you're like, okay, now I got a few more. And then the next time, okay, now I think I figured this out. Then you do it again and you're back to the, I barely got a few points. So it's not like, it's almost like you got to warm up a bit, but then sometimes you just get back and you're like, what am I doing here? And that's it's addicting because it's so fast. You play 9 cards. 1 is already on the board. So you literally play 8 cards and you're done. But this one is also on BGA. So this one, I think Orchard might be on there as well, which was the first one. But they made them each so different that it's neat because in the little advanced part of the game, you would take some of the other 9 cards that you're not using, flip them over, and they have scoring on them. So you will typically, like in the base game, you will just score all the points that are showing on the pips at the end of the game. But with those, now you have some other extra ways of scoring. And so then you would your score will be a little bit higher probably, but then you kind of go to a different chart to see how well you did. It is a solo game. You could play it cooperatively, I guess, and kind of, work on it together, but it's quite neat. And it doesn't need a lot of space because you're not spreading out a whole lot because, again, you're only playing 8 cards on there. And a lot of them you want to overlap so that you can flip those dice.
Right.
But it's
and those dice are so unique looking. Like I've never seen a 10 pip sided dice there. So
and neat. Then one will have a basket, I believe, on it that's like gonna signify the 15.
Yeah.
So there's no 2s, there's no 4s. I think there's just 1s, 3s, 6s, 10s, and then that.
And
so
the
there's
15.
Probably.
And then the rat looks like, yeah.
Yeah, and then the rat.
Very cool.
But no,
very
it's
cool.
Really neat. And any of those games, I I don't know why I can't think of the second game, but yeah, Orchard was the first one. And they did do a print and play, and they might even have a print and play of this one that you can do. Just print out for free. And, you can just use your own dice and use the number for certain things, but it's a really cool little puzzle game. And that's my number 5, Forage.
Very cool. Yeah, that looks neat. My number 5 is another from the Paco game series. And this one here is Nut. Now, looks like they reprinted it because that looks a little different from the copy that I have.
Oh, yeah.
This is the one that I have, has this little squirrel on it. And what's interesting with this one is you're creating, like, you each have a colored squirrel, and then you're creating these trees and you're putting these acorns on it. And because you'll put like on one side or the other so you can flip it or whatever, and then you're creating like the trunk in between. But what you're trying to do is you're trying to create a cluster of nuts of the same color for you to score. And you'll have like some rainbow nuts in there as well, and then you're kind of placing it and trying to create this. And it was just so satisfying to play. And you can sometimes cover up like one of the nut with a new tile as well. And sometimes like, this one is perfect, except I need it to be mirrored. But if you flip it over, then it goes on the other side. It's no longer perfect. Like, it's like, so it was very interesting. We played this a few times. I haven't played it lately, but it was such a neat one. Probably from the Paco game, it tends to be one of the top ones that I would reach out for. And it was just so interesting. So that is my number 5, Nut.
Yeah, this one's a cool one. All right, my number 4 is Seasons of Rice. This is another button shy game. This one is a multiplayer game. And man, they used those cards again very wisely, because on one side of the card is a player, your faction, not faction, but your worker or whatever that has a specific player power. And then on the other side are all these little rice fields, and they're all in different shapes with squares of like groups of either like part of a rice field, and then they could have workers on them. They could have not cattle. What are those, oxes? It can have like a barn on there. And so what you are trying to do is you're trying to build your own rice field, and you have cards, and you're going to draft one and play it, and then you switch, and you're going to, so you're not going to get everything that's in your hand. But there's also like a scoring of the game of what's going to score bigger. You will always score kind of for your closed rice fields, and depending how many, if there's a barn in there, it'll double, I believe. And if you have a specific scoring, because typically you don't want ox in an open field, because they will, I don't know if they'll come and eat it or run away or whatnot, but you are trying to close off as many fields as you can. And then however big they are, they will multiply by, I think, workers in there. And then the other thing is your player power. I might get to do something specific that the other player can't do. But the neat thing is when you're drafting your cards, there's going to be some hate drafting there, because it'll be like, I don't really want this card, but I don't want you to have it. So then I think you discard one. I've played the solo and only the quite a bit, but the multiplayer I've only played once, so that one I'm not so fresh on. But I believe, you can hate draft it and then put it off to the side, because you play one and I think you discard one. But now those ones will be used for the next round. But as long as you're like, okay, I know there's ones that I put over there that they really want, so I'm going to try and draft as many of those as I possibly can. But then that being said, I want cards for myself to score. So again, there's that offense, defense. What do I take from you? But what do I just try to work on for myself? And it's quite interesting. The powers are neat because they're all very powerful. So it's like, oh, this is gonna let me do this and let me score this way, whereas yours is gonna do a different thing. And I don't believe you can overlap them, but how they play is quite unique, because the shapes on them are so different. But if you're watching YouTube and you see this, you can see how like one card has like some actual squares on it, whereas other ones, they're just triangles, but then you're going to connect those triangles into be actual squares of rice fields. And it's just like another game where multiple like playability, because you've got a different player power, a different scoring, and then you're going to draft a different way, and it's so satisfying connecting all those rice fields, and they just look really neat. But yeah, that's my number 4, Seasons of Rice.
Yeah, this is one that you lent to me, and unfortunately I didn't get it to the table. I did watch the tutorial and it did look really cool. I watched a tutorial where they're like, I don't know why they had to do everything diagonal. It would be better if it was just like up and downs, but I like the look of this way.
They wanted to make it trickier, I think.
Yeah, it's just kind of like, okay, it's because it's a little harder to visualize, so it makes it just, kind of bumps up the I guess the puzzle factor a little bit.
Yep.
So that was your number 4, Seasons of Rice. My number 4, this is one where it fits because it is tiny. There are some cards, but there are quite a bit of components. And me and you played it. And we're like, right away, like, okay, again. And that is Tinderblox. So Tinderblox comes in this tiny, tiny little tin can, and you have all of these little wooden bits that'll be like a red cube, a white cube, or a little brown stick, I guess, which is like, I don't know, like 2-3 cubes together. And then you get these little tweezers, and then you're going to flip a card, and it's going to say, okay, here's how you need to take like a brown stick and a red cube, and you need to assemble it on the side and then use the tweezers to move it onto your little campfire, and things can't fall off. So you'd be like, all right, well, and then like if you squeeze too hard with the tweezers, it'll fly out. Like you gotta have like a steady. And then sometimes they'll be like, hey, you gotta do it with your non-dominant hand. I'm like, really? Like, oh my god. So it was just a silly but fun kind of little game, like putting everything together and test. Oh, it fell off. But as long as it falls off while you're assembling it, it's fine. You can just rebuild it and then try again and put it on. And we played it and we're like, okay, let's do it again. And then we did it again. But it was like a neat little satisfying game. It was better than I expected. It plays quick. It says 3 to 15 minutes on this tin, and they're probably right. Like it could be very quick. And it's one that you could just play multiple times, but it's so small, like it just fits. Now I think they're doing a sequel to this. Like there's a new one that's coming out.
Yeah, it's a barbecue
tiny
one.
That's what it is, the barbecue. Yeah,
placing them on the barbecue.
So yeah, that would be interesting as well. But it was just silly fun, and I had a blast with it. And I just like, okay, sure, I'll grab this one. I bought this one secondhand, and I don't regret. I just thought it'd be like fun little silly game to play, and it definitely delivered for that. So that was my number 4, Tinderblox.
Yeah, the reason we played it so much is because we had to play until I could actually win the game. I am terrible at dexterity games. I have so much energy flowing through me that I if you don't know me, I'm quite a hyper person, but that I like things like that for me, like dainty things. I'm not dainty by any means. I have a hard time. My brain has a hard time controlling and calming and placing things. So I was constantly knocking things. I'm like, okay, you won. Let's do it again. And then we do it again. I think I finally won a game. And I'm like, okay, there. We'll just end it right there. But no, it's hilarious because I don't think I ever even had to use my other hand. You did a lot.
Right? I guess. Jeez.
I was using my dominant hand. And just those little tweezers and just like, oh, I gotta get this placed. And then we placed them, though, like you could really screw the other person and place one so that the next one could be very difficult. You were being nice to me so that I could do it. But yeah, it would be interesting. The barbecue one looks like, I've seen pictures. I think you lay out things so it's like a barbecue, and then you have to place all these little, I think they're foods on them. Right. But it looked quite difficult. I think I'm going to have to get a copy just to play with my family because
there you go.
Kids would be really good at this game. because they, they can place like little things. Like this reminds me of a reverse operation to me. Like,
Right.
you've ever
Yeah.
played Operation as a kid and
Yeah.
you got that shock of that noise when it happened? You're like, oh, it's like brings back some, PTSD from that for me. But it is very interesting and fun. And if you ever want to laugh, you play a dexterity game with me and it'll be fun.
There you go.
Yeah, it's good. All right. So my number 3 is a crossover. And this was one of your Paco games, and that is Nut. I really liked this game. The neat part is not just the connecting of the colors, but then if you get a squirrel involved in that connection of that color, it doubles it. So, do you end up working on like just 1 or 2 colors and forget about the rest because they all will score their highest? Mm-hmm. But, like, do I just want a few points in each, or do I want to try to get, the same color and just get a whole bunch? It's neat because, like you said, you get this perfect card and you're like, oh, I just need it to be reversed, because you can either connect on the tree side or the other side where it's open, and the open parts are still kind of connected, but it's just how they made these cards and made them not be perfect for what you want to place them is so clever. And it's just so neat how is it only a 2-player game? That part I couldn't remember.
Let me see what it says there. It is,
because there wasn't a lot of cards.
Specify on there. No, I think it might be, but let me bring it up real quick and have a look.
I think it would play best at 2 for the amount of cards that are there, because you really want to build up your tree.
Yeah.
Your trees, I should say. But it's really
I guess your little forest.
Yeah, your forest. But no, it's really cool. Yeah, I enjoyed that one so much. That was my number 3, Nut.
Yeah, let's see. Nut. Oh, man.
I think it is multiplayer now that I think about it.
Oh, okay, perfect. Yeah, for some reason. Because it's... Yeah. Because my thing is being silly. I have a filter on it, so it's only bringing my filters game right now.
Oh, yeah, okay. It's 2 to 3. Oh, okay.
So not very much. Okay. Yeah. Perfect. But yeah, that was your number 3, Nut. I approve. My number 3 is another one from the Paco game series, and that is actually the top one in my Paco game list, and that is Dig. And with Dig is each player is playing as a different dog. So you're going to take your dog card, and they're going to be above or below this whole row. And in the row, you're going to have either smelly lines coming out of the ground, and those smelly lines are going to have like 1 or 2 colors, or you're going to have a dog bowl, and the dog bowl is all the different colors, and you're going to be on your turn. You can move your dog one way or another. So be like, okay, but then depending on how many bones you're carrying, how many movements you can move by,
slows your movement down, right?
Yeah, because you're like, all
so too heavy.
Yeah. So you can move up to 4 spaces in one direction or another if you're not carrying any bones. But if you are carrying bones, like 1, then you would have 3 movements. If you're carrying 2, then you have 2 movements, and so on. And you're gonna go, and this is a set collection, so you're trying to kind of collect bones of the same color ideally, but you can have like multiple sets. And the smelly lines kind of indicate, so if there's a purple smelly line and a blue smelly line, the bone is going to be either a blue or a purple. So you kind of have some information, but it's 50-50. It was like, okay, well, I really would like some more blue, so I'm going to go there. And then you can dig on your turn. You can dig, you flip it over, and you get what it's on there. And I think it's the bone that you collect. It moves that plate to the back of the list or of the row, and you're going to be doing that. So then the plates keep moving towards the back of the row, and you play this until all the bones are collected. It's only the bowls that are left. Then, depending on the position of the bowl, the closest one to the doghouse is worth the most. So it could be like, oh, okay, so like red is worth more, so I'm going to collect more red. But by the time it comes to the end, like, man, red is worth the least now, and I've got all these red bones, so the game changes as you play. So you want to be careful. Maybe don't put all your eggs in the same basket here. So but it's just so cute. Then the artwork is adorable. And depending on the number of players, you can be like put your like because you can flip your dog so it's at the top, so you can place them on the bottom of this lineup or on the top of the lineup, and you're moving around trying to collect these things. It was super cool. I really enjoy this one. The theme is just adorable. Me and Lily have played this one lots, and it's so cool. And that is my number 3, Dig.
Yeah, I have to try this multiplayer. I just tried to simulate a 2-player game, but it
Mm.
wasn't fun that way. I feel like it would be much better literally with 2 people at least playing, because it was so interesting, the mechanics. But,
Yeah.
as a solo game it doesn't work, but it's definitely will be a neat 2-player. So that one we have to try as well.
Yeah, for
Good
sure.
pick. All right, my number 2 is another button shy game, and this one is called Death Valley. Now, this one, the art on it is just beautiful. I don't know if they've put on there who the artist is, but I'll have to look it up.
Kevin Ellenbergs.
I think that's the designer, but I'm gonna
Oh,
look up
for the art.
artist
Yeah,
after,
right.
because it's just gorgeous. The colors on it are just like a kind of a bluish. I feel like
purple?
it's like a sunset kind of vibe that it's giving, because there's like pinks and purples, but they're kind of like faint colors. Anyway, this game is a push your luck game. It plays really cool at 2, and it might only be a 2, but the solo, I've played it solo a lot. And solo, it's just, one of those games I probably could play 10 times in a row. Now, what you do in this game is that they're showing different cards there. They look like they're
So,
long and skinny. but
yeah,
mine
because
are
it looks like
normal
it
size
got
cards.
made in a Paco, like the Paco
Yeah.
game series as well. So I wasn't
does,
sure.
but-
So I picked this one, but I'm assuming it plays the same. It's the same
Yeah,
artwork.
I'm sure it would.
Yeah.
But I have normal size cards, and they're in that little wallet thing. But what you do is you have this card flipped up, and then you are just kind of pushing your luck. You can either take that card. You probably will each start with one if you're playing multiplayer. I don't think I've tried it multiplayer yet, but and then you're going to choose, do I want that card showing or do I want to flip a card? Now, the reason you might not take that card showing is you have these symbols on your cards. So if I have a sun already face up and there's a sun there, I'm not going to take that card, because as soon as I get 3, I bust. So I will chance it and take a different card. And okay, well, this one shows a different symbol, so I'm going to take that and place it up on the top of my tableau. And then the other player will go and they will flip a card, and depending what it is, they again might take it or not take it. But then another thing you can do is you can move cards down into, they call it, I think, your backpack, I think is what they call it, or your what is that called? Like a book. Oh, where you save things in a book. What are those called?
Journal?
Scrapbooks, maybe?
Oh,
They
okay.
might be scrapbook.
Sure.
So you could place these cards down in your scrapbook. And the reason you'd want to do that is they're going to score for the bottom of the card. Then you're going to get points for those. Whereas if they're on the top, you're not going to score them. But each card might need something specific beside it or something specific on top in order for it to score. So depending on the scoring, what it tells you that it'll score, you will put some down there. Now, the other thing is, if you do bust, the ones that you have in your scrapbook are safe. You won't lose those cards, because if I moved some down and I still had 2 suns on the top and I flipped and got another sun, they're all going to go away, and whatever is there is nothing. Now, they have there's different symbols on these cards, because there's like the sun symbols and the mountain and things that will make you bust. But then they also have, I think it's stars is what gives you the points. Yeah, it's stars.
There's a bunch of stars.
Those are specific points, no matter what, with the scoring that you'll get to count at the end of the game. But some of them might say, cards without stars are going to give you points, so then you don't even want to collect those. So it's really unique how you're going to score, because it's going to depend what's in your scrapbook or whatever we called that. And it's neat because you can also make the other player bust. So if I pull a card, like I'm thinking of the solo, and I feel like this will probably be for multiplayer. When the AI pulls a card, they can make me bust, and then I'm going to lose it. So they will always do that before they would choose for themselves. Unless it's going to make them bust, then they won't pull that card. But it's neat because you're constantly, going to be shuffling these cards because you're going to be busting quite a bit because there's only, I think, 3 different symbols. And for you to be able to get them down into your scoring, you still want them up there because they're going to give you points for what you're scoring at the bottom. It's kind of a harder game to explain, but it's quite neat. And it did take me a while to figure out, okay, the mechanics of this, and okay, now it makes sense, and it flows and it plays in 5 minutes, and then let's do it again. It's kind of one of those games, but it's just really neat. And you probably should just go watch a playthrough or a how to play because my explanation was not great, but trust me, it's a really good game. And that's my number 2, Death Valley. I'm going to look up the artist because it's really beautiful.
Sounds
art.
good. It's gorgeous. Yeah. And I like that the Paco game look as well. And it looks like it's dry and then Death Valley. So very neat. All right. My number 2 is another little tin game. And this is the smallest tin I have ever come across, and actually brag about it on the game itself. And that is Iota. And it's like the great big game in the teeny weeny tin. And now don't be like, oh, this is such a small game. It's great. We'll bring it and play it on the plane. Like, you're not playing this game on a small surface. By the time you're done playing, this is taking up all sorts of space. But what's really neat is you're going to set, like, you're going to place cards together. And the moment you put 2 cards together, it determines the rules for that row or column. So if you have 2 colors, different shape, different numbers, then what you need to do is going to be like, okay, so all have to be green, but they all have to be different shape and a different number than the previously 2 played ones. Now, if you put 2 tiles and they're the same color, same number, but a different shape, then they all have to be the same number, the same color, and different shape. So you got to follow the rules for the rest of the row. And every time you're able to add a card to that row or column, then you're going to score that row or column. And if you're able to add to a row and a column, then you're going to score both of those. So as you're placing, you got to follow the rules, and you're going to be, kind of tallying up your score as you go. But it's just so, because you'll be like, okay, I got these cards, and you're looking and you're looking and you're looking. Or it's like, oh no, wait, that doesn't work. Okay, and you're looking, like it's like you're doing a puzzle, right? Where does this piece fit? And it's going to fit in here somewhere. Now, as soon as you can, because you can make anything work. As soon as you put 2 cards together, it creates a new rule. It's going to work. So you can fit 2. But the tricky is you're trying to fit more, and then trying to get, like, okay, so where would this work? Like, I would like to put more, so you score bigger. And it is so neat and satisfying. We have played this one lots. And then you'll have a few like wild cards that'll just fit anywhere, right? So kind of help you create bigger clusters if you can. But yeah, it's brain burny, it's puzzly, and it's like, it's so satisfying. It is so satisfying. It's kind of a bit like a domino feel, I guess, or that other game where you're playing and you're putting the tiles at all colors and shape as well. Yeah, so it has that kind of feel as well, but it's a little bit more puzzly. So I love it. And that is my number 2, Iota.
Awesome. I've played this a long time ago, but I have one question. So can you play cards that are like all different colors, all different numbers in one row?
Yep.
Okay, so this is...
So it depends on the 2... Yeah, it depends on the first 2 cards you play, sets the rules for the rest, right? Okay. So if they're all different numbers, all different colors, all different shapes, then that's the rule you're going to have to keep following for the rest of the row.
Yeah, so this is to me is a cross between Quirkle and Set. Have you ever played Set?
Oh, I've never played Set.
Okay, I'm going to have to bring that one time. I played this with my kids when they were young. Yes. And that was literally just some cards, and it would have either 1, 2, or 3 shapes. It would have 1, 2, or 3 colors, and then they'd either be shaded not shaded, or completely filled in. Now, you'd
Oh,
have
so it
these
sounds
grid
very
of
similar.
cards.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd have these. I also have the dice version of it, but you'd have these cards all laid out, and you just all are looking at these cards and you're trying to make a set. So the sets can be like wonky like that. So you're just I'm trying to find the easy ones, but then my son was just crazy. He would like grab them right away, all these hard, difficult sets. And I'm like, what? Oh, okay. And then you add some more cards to complete the grid, and then you do it again. He'd grab them again. And then my daughter would grab it. And the kids can get that kind of like, so you should bring this to one of your like game days with the kids, and you'll be shocked at how kids can pick that up, because my kids were just nuts at this game as young kids. And so I'm going to have to bring this one out and play it with them, because it's going to bring back that set memories.
Right.
But yeah, I'll definitely have to bring it and play it with you to see, because as an adult, it's like I think we take a little bit more time to like put it together. Just kind of like those games where I think, what were they called for kids, where you had to spot things? Well, Spot It is one, but we had bigger versions of that where you'd have cards and you have to find it, and they would just be like, boom, they could just dial right into it, where like my eyes were like, hey, hold on, I just need a few more seconds. Yeah,
I actually bought one at the Dollarama that's kind of like Crime Scene. What was it? Crime City?
Oh, so, is it Picturica?
It's not Picturica,
okay.
but it's more like Crime City, but I think it's more 3D and in colors. Cool. So I haven't opened it yet, but it looks amazing.
We have to try that with all of us, because it'll be funny with all us adults trying to race to get it. Yeah, no, I'm going to pull this one out again with them, because that's just
I want to try the set one too.
Yeah, I'll bring that.
Very cool.
Sure.
All right, so we're on our number one.
2. Well, my number 1 is my favorite button shay game. This is a solo only, but this one it burns my brain, but I play it over and over and over, and this is called Food Chain Island. Now, this is like the best solitaire that I feel like you can just, sink your teeth into, but it also plays at, 5 minutes. So what you do in this game is, again, I believe it's 18 cards, but you are going to, they have it set up in the Paco line again. I've never seen that. So these ones are full cards. You're going to place them in a grid, and I think it's a 5x4 possibly. Now I can't remember the size of the grid, but each card is going to have a number of 0 to 15, I believe. And each of the numbers has a specific animal on it. The higher ones are like the big, mammals that are going to eat all the other cards. It could literally devour, because it's kind of sized to down to 0, which I don't remember what the 0 is. Maybe like an ant or a spider or something.
It's a plant.
But what happens is each animal can eat 3 cards less than itself. So it could, like a 15 could eat a 12, 13, 14. A 4 could eat a 1, 2, 3. A 3 could eat a 0, 1, 2. But how they're placed, you need to like eat next to you. So they're not placed the way they should be, right? Because you shuffle them up and you place them all. Now you have to strategically like, okay, my 7's going to eat my 6, but then when I move that onto my 6, that's how it eats it. That space is blank beside me. So now I got to get my 8 over to the 7 somehow. But my 9 already ate the 7, so the 9 could get to the 7 somehow. And the neat thing is, on each card, there's an ability. So, like, once the 7 eats, it might say at the bottom, now you may only eat diagonally. So then you have to, okay, this 15 is going to eat this 14. But now I have a blank space there, and there's a 0 up there. This 14 can't eat the 0. So you have to, like, figure out how to try to get down to 1 card. I don't know I think I've done it once.
That's so cool.
Then you have 2 abilities on the side where it's like, 1, you can move a card anywhere. So that helps. If I have this 0 up here, I need to get it down to this 1. There's another one, I think you can just remove a whole pile of cards. So maybe this 1 has kept eating, because there's one ability on one of the cards where it's the next time you eat, you're going to slide the card under instead of putting it on top. So that might be good, because it won't have to move, because I want that card to be there so that this bigger one can eat it. It's just really, really thinky, but there's a couple little mini expansions that help and hinder you as well, so they can make it easier or harder. I typically will put the easier one first until they warm up a bit and get the hang of it again. But it is very tricky, but so addicting. And again, you don't need a whole ton of space, just that, I don't know if it's a 4x4. That would be 16. Yeah, it's a 4x4 because that would be 16 cards with your 2 abilities with the base game. But it's really neat. This one is like a Ted Alspach game, I think, too. Or no, sorry, Scott Alms.
Scott Alms, yeah.
So he did. I'm just gonna make sure here.
Because Scott Alms did all the Tiny Epic games. Yeah.
I might.
So that's kind of cool. It's neat to see his games like out of those series, and he's a very clever guy.
And he does a ton of those Button Shy games. Does he do any of the Paco games? No,
well, this one, because it looks like there's some crossovers. So yes, he does do some of the Paco games. Some of the ones I have are by Scott Alms. This one is, and it looks like Button Shy and Paco games kind of cross over here a little bit. So there's some that
I've never seen those Paco in that version though, but neat.
I want them.
Yeah, no, they're cool.
Very it's funny. Cool, I have a candy dish, and that's where all my Paco games sit. So
they are like candy games.
Very neat. So this one looks super cool. This is a solo I might play. I mean, I used to love playing solitaire, like with the cards, a deck of card, right?
Yeah.
So this
would give you the feel of it, because you do it. Okay, I'm stuck with 4 piles. Let's do it again. Try it. Oh, now I have 2 piles. It's one of those where, and it's not overly like I can't watch TV. I can't have anyone talking. I could probably do that because it's literally just trying to get numbers under or over numbers. But
very cool.
Really neat. All right, what's your number 1?
So my number 1 is a whole series of games. I just put every one of them in there, and by far my favorite ones for like a micro game, and this is the holiday hijinks. So you have one for every holiday, and there's tons that keep coming out. So you'll have one for birthdays or Valentine's Day here. They have one for Halloween. They have one for Christmas. They have like every holiday has like one, and then they always come out with ones. Now, these are tiny, tiny. Like they would be the size of the wallet games, because it just comes in a small pack. You open it up, there's a few sets of cards. This is also a great one to buy as a print and play, because you only print a couple of pages and then you put them together and then you can play that. So I actually did the birthday one as a print and play, but it plays like an exit or an unlock or those type of games. And then you'll start with this one and you need to solve how it works. And it'll like, okay, so there's this puzzles, and then you kind of figure out the puzzle and it gives you the number. So you go get those cards and you add them in, and but the story is so whimsical. Like it's so neat. Like I did the turkey trial one, and basically we're trying to help the turkey escape before he gets cooked. Like it's hilarious. And you have all these other barnyard animals that are helping him, and so a part of the puzzle you got to solve has to do with those. But like they're all so different thinking. Like the birthday one is you're trying to get everything ready in time to have the surprise birthday party before the person arrives. So you got to solve all these puzzles to like, okay, great, now you got the balloons that unlock the balloons, and you gotta go through the whole thing. It's neat and clever, and so compact and tiny, and there's a whole series of them that I absolutely love these, and that's the holiday hijinks.
Yeah, these are good. I get frustrated with these because if I can't get the puzzle right away, I'm like, okay, hint.
Right.
We will get the hint. But Mel is the person you want to play these games with. She is so good at these puzzly games that Matt too. Oh, Matt. One of our listeners. He's phenomenal. But like that's why I always love playing puzzly games with you, or like the Chronicles of Crime. And it's just, you definitely have a brain for these type of games. I have a bit of one. Sometimes I'll, surprise you and be like, oh, wait, what about this? And I'm like, oh, how did I even get that? But overall, you get these very well. Like,
well, that's one thing I like with these games, like, because you can play them alone.
yeah,
I like them best at 2 players.
yeah,
But you
because
can
you
play
have 2
3,
different
4, or whatever. But people see and think of things
different.
differently.
Yeah.
And you'll play it and I was like, oh, I didn't think of that at all. Like that game like that episode we did where Matt did like the walkthrough escape thing that was based on
The audio, yes.
Yes, the audio
was
escape
cool.
based, like there was some stuff you're like, oh, right, you're right. It's like totally didn't go there. So it is neat to play this with somebody else because no matter what their skill level, they will think of things you won't. Exactly. And you'll think of things they won't. And you just kind of the cooperation of it. So these are great, I think, as a couple to kind of work on collaboration and cooperation, or, make siblings that fight all the time. Play
yes.
These, like,
make them
as a way of
this. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I love
I think these would be an awesome game, like in schools too, like when you earned free time, try to like work together and do one of these and just see how the kids can, I would just like to watch how they can, deduct and deduce things and figure things out, because I think
it's
kids
great
would
problem
enjoy
solving,
these.
right?
Yeah.
Like,
really good problem solving. And I think they would be excellent for schools. Especially because they're so tiny. That's maybe where I should donate
no
my
space. Yeah, honestly, like a lot of these type of games, because they're one and done. Once you've complete them, they're done. Yeah. Those are the games that I like to donate to my local library, which is actually here located in the school anyways, just because I think they're so thinky and clever and develops I think the skills that it develops is amazing.
Yeah, if you're a teacher, I think games like this or any sort of like little puzzly games that, people can work together would be an awesome game, because it's going to like develop math skills, deduction, and just working together, and so many skills involved in games like this.
And with this series as well, especially because you can so easily put them together as a print and play, and they're so inexpensive as a print and play, it would be super economical to do like a series of these for classrooms for sure. Yeah. I mean, then at the school and the teachers, they have the color printer access, or, like they have access to that. If you can laminate them with, because most libraries have a laminator as well. Yeah. That would, then it would last a lot longer as well. I just put mine in like old sleeves that I had, but no, I'm a big fan. This game is great. This whole series is great and so compact.
Awesome. Well, that was our 9 micro games, and there could have been a lot more. Like I missed a few that were like, oh, I really wanted them on my list, but I do. There's
a lot that I still didn't get to play.
Yeah.
Like Woo, like WOO. It's a trick taking game from the Paco game series, where you can also marry, if you have like the king and queen, then you can marry them, or like, so I want to try that one. Then there was the game I tried to give back to you, but it's actually mine. She's like, isn't that your copy? And I was like, oh, right. What is it called? Delivery.
Mintworks. Mintworks Delivery, yeah.
Yeah. So
that's another really cool little micro game. I still haven't
played it. I want to. Yeah.
Because it uses little discs that look like mints, and those are the workers, and it's a worker placement. Yeah. And you just sprawl out these cards, and it's like a pick up and deliver, I believe. I don't know that I've actually played it.
I watched the tutorial, so I was like, hey, just got to get it played, and it just didn't happen, unfortunately.
And they have a whole line of games too, the Mintworks. There's about 3 or 4 different ones that you could play, but yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Well, next week we are going to go back to some deduction games. Now, we did talk about this in episode, I think it's 56, but that was a long time ago. And we looked at the games that were on that list, and there's, typically only a few that we would have maybe put on our new list. We're not going to put any of those ones on our new list, but Mel and I both love deduction games and have been playing a ton of them. So we are going to give you a whole new list of those. There's so many different types of deduction games now that are just awesome. So I'm excited for this list next week.
I'm like super, because I had one show up in the mail just today, or not
Which
today,
could
but
have
this
fit
week.
on this list.
Could have fit
this
on this
week,
list,
right?
but it
Because it was-
just arrived. But then deduction, it could fit in that one, and I'm super excited to try it.
Mm-hmm.
So stay tuned.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, because you were like, I don't think I ordered this game, and then you got an email. Oh, hopefully
Just
you got
confirming
my
you got
game
it.
that I want you to review, or do they
Yeah.
want to review, or they just want
Yeah,
you to
because
play
they
it?
contacted me. They were looking for reviewers, and then they said is like, how do you like deduction games? And I'm like, I love them. I was like, I love them. So
Yeah.
I'm just pulling it up here just to kind of see.
Do you think
so
it's a
called,
one and done game?
I don't think so. I think it's one you can
Oh.
replay. And then
Cool.
what's cool is they sent me like all the Kickstarter expansions as well. So the game is called Classified Information. And I have like, you can have like set 1, set 2. And sorry, I'm doing my camera set up for, and like so totally zoomed in on me because of that. And I don't remember what the symbol to make it go back. So, but so
Zooming in.
it's like, sheesh, I don't know how to zoom it back out. I'll just back up a bit.
She's in the back of the room.
Oh, that's funny. But yeah, so that just arrived. So I'm super excited for it. Because, yeah, it's just a small little pack of game. And you would play with one set. But then they sent like set 2 and set 3 that you can play with those. But from what I understand, you can, I believe you can replay them.
Oh, cool.
So I've just received it this week. I'm going to be doing an unboxing, learning it. And I'll do like a kind of review how to play video for that as well. But then, yeah, that cool. could maybe make my top 9 for the deduction games.
Nice.
Then I have a few games that I haven't played yet either. Like we were talking about Hooky, which Hooky sounds like a letter mastermind or word mastermind. So I think that one would be super cool as well.
It is. It's what's neat about that is how you give clues is I will say a word, a 5-letter word, and I'll say Mel. The word, well, let's just say Hooky. H-O, that's 5, right? H-O-O. Yeah. And I'll say how many of your letters are in that word. And then you have to tell me. And so then I can kind of deduce that way, like, okay, so she has 3 letters in that word. 2 of them could be the O's. And then the next person can ask you or me, if we were playing 3-player, okay, Carla, does your word, so you're getting information when somebody else asks about the other person. So it's interesting that way. And the words you ask, like you might know something about mine quite a bit, but you don't want the other person to get wind of what you know.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So you don't want to be too obvious about the word. So it's really thinky. You're gonna like it. You know.
Oh, I think I will.
Yeah,
that's so it's one that was sent to me by Rio Grande Games, and I was like, okay, I want to play this so bad. So, but then that would fit well for a deduction game. So I'm super excited for the next list for sure.
Yeah, I have a whole shelf of games I love, and yeah, can't wait for that. Mm-hmm. So anyway, before we sign off, where can people find you?
So I am on Instagram at Mel's_boardgame_room. You can also find me on Facebook. My Facebook page is Mel's Board Game Room. I'm also have a YouTube channel called Mel's Board Game Room. And be sure to check out our Discord. We're very active on there. And then we got lots of people sharing kind of daily all the different games that they're playing in there. What was it? John's Company was being played yesterday.
Yeah.
I saw it played at the 4-day retreat that I went to. Now it's like a really neat looking game. So be sure to join us on there to talk everything board games. It's been a lot of fun. How about you, Carla? Where can we find you?
I'm on Instagram at boardgamespecialist, all one word. And then I have a Facebook page called Red Deer Board Game Fanatics. Well, until next time, thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye for now.